Welcome to today's coaches chat for Hospital for Special Surgery. We are joined here with physical therapist Brent Smith. So I guess in the chat, if you just want to pop in where you are calling from all across the globe and what you're excited for about race day. And if you have any other questions, pop them in the chat. So I guess getting on to today's episode, we're going to talk about, we're 11 days out from the TCS New York City Marathon. So Brent, I just want you to talk to us about what runners are experiencing mentally and physically at this point.
Sure. Good to see you again, Gemma. And we just went through this, right? Because you and I both just ran a marathon, 3 weeks ago at this point, right? So I think all the runners probably are experiencing a combination of nerves, especially if they're a first-time marathoner. They're going, why am I not running more miles than, than I'm used to right now? And hopefully there's a lot of excitement out there, either for our return runners or for the first-timers as well.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely not counting how many days it was since my last marathon.
No.
So if a runner suddenly starts feeling discomfort this week or even next week, what should their next steps be?
Well, number one, take a breath and don't freak out, right? I mean, the aches and pains, they happen. Hopefully in a perfect world, our runners are feeling better over these next couple weeks as they taper down the miles. But sometimes some things rise up. So I think don't push. We always say this, right? Don't push through pain. So if there's true pain, don't do your run, right? It's more important to get to that start line healthy and be able to complete the race than to push out those miles over these next 11 days and get to that start line at a place where you're not going to finish the race. So don't freak out. Listen to your body. Skip a run if you need to. Get lots of rest. Right, all those things that you do, ice, elevate, roll out, whatever it might be. If they have somebody that's available to them, like a doctor or a PT that they've been working with, a personal trainer, you guys obviously reach out to any of those people to see, hey, what's going on? What are you thinking? But just, take a breath. Don't freak.
Take a breath. I love that. I guess that leads us really nicely into our next question. So, what should a runner be doing right now to best prepare their body for race day? They've had a long training cycle, so what can we do at this point?
Yeah, I mean, number one is adhering to that taper period, right? If you're really good about that and you don't try to squeeze in any miles or long runs that you missed, your body's going to have that time to heal itself. A couple weeks ago or a month or two ago, we were talking about the fresh legs, right? So making sure that you get to that start line with good, fresh legs. One of the best things I ever heard is, as of about a week ago for most of these runners, you're at the fitness level, right? So there's nothing you can really do over these next 11 days to get that fitness level higher. They're at where they're at, right? So adhere to the taper, lots of sleep, get at least those 7-8 hours of sleep a night. Good nutrition, right? Because all this fueling that they're doing to repair the body and fuel it in preparation for the race is important.
Yeah. So you wouldn't recommend running a marathon tomorrow?
Sure, why not? Well, yeah, no, exactly. Don't run the marathon and, don't push anything, right? You probably still have tempo runs over the next week or two, but it doesn't mean go for that fastest mile that you've ever done.
On the flip side, there are things that runners should not be doing before the race. What are these things that they should not be doing?
Lots of things, right? Don't run a half marathon. Don't push your tempo run too much. We talk about this all the time. Don't try anything new, right? So don't get some new swag and put that on and go out for a long run or wear it to the marathon. Don't go against that, that decrease in miles that you're doing now. Don't start freaking out and be, I've got to reach my 25 miles a week or whatever it might be. Or, I missed that long run, so let me throw it in this week. Don't do that, right? Don't overbook yourself in life. You've got to rest. You need to stay up on the nutrition,
Yeah, focusing on that rest is definitely key right now.
Yeah, and so hard, right? Especially when you're so nervous and anxious for the first timers of, the race is coming, so they're just laying in bed like, I'm never going to make it.
You're going to make it. Just rest, relax, listen to Brent, sorry. Going to the chat, have we got any questions or where have we got people listening in from?
The first question is it normal to have foot tendon pain after running?
These are always my favorite questions. I mean, I guess in some ways the answer was always yes. It's normal in that we all have different aches, discomforts. I try not to use the word pain because that means stop running. But it's not abnormal to have discomforts. The biggest concern is it to the level that it affects you during running? Does it change your gait pattern? Does it make it so that you can't complete a run? Is it a discomfort that stays the same or increases when you're running? That's not good. Versus something that goes away when you're running. That's okay to run through.
And Jay is asking, is it okay to take a couple of days off during taper? My last run, 14 miles, was Sunday, and I haven't run since.
Yeah, totally fine. You want to keep following your tapering plan, like listening to your coach and everything, but having a few days off, but keeping those legs moving. We don't want you stopping running between your last run and the marathon, so getting in a few easy miles. But again, nothing you do now, it should be high intensity or challenging.
And the next question is from Rue, and she's asking, I have IT band syndrome 2 weeks out. Is it too late to heal?
That's a good question. I mean, unfortunately, usually ITB is not a quick heal. I think for you, the best thing you can do is kind of what we were just talking about. Adhere to that taper, ice, ice, ice. Don't overdo it. Try to get yourself to that start line as healthy as possible so that it doesn't, affect you during the race if able.
And the next question is, after about 15 miles, my right quad really starts to stiffen up, but left feels great. Why is that?
I wish I could answer these questions through the camera. I mean, there's so many different reasons why that could be. It could be a weakness on one leg versus the other in your core. It could be a muscle imbalance, a tightness, running mechanics. I mean, the list is ad nauseum.
I like that word, ad nauseum.
I don't know where that came from. I'll use it. In situations like this is a good time to maybe go see a physical therapist, go see a personal trainer, go see one of the coaches, right? And we can all work with you to see what we find in terms of your running gait pattern, any muscle imbalances, restrictions that we could find to maybe help you on down the road not experience this. Obviously, don't freak out about it if it's not keeping you from running, if it's not affecting you during the course. I wouldn't be too worried about it.
And Otto is asking, should I do my shakeout run the day before or 2 days before the race?
Yeah, I guess this depends on, your schedule at this point. You could do it the day before, in the morning the day before. That would be like a nice, easy 2-3 miles, really easy shakeout.
And I always think, I think we normally speak to the runners that are probably beginner or mid-level. I mean, there's plenty of, the higher level, the pros, they're running the day before. I think the one thing to contemplate, especially if you're from out of town, is the days leading up to the race can be exhausting. The expo can be exhausting. I know for Chicago 3 weeks ago, I was wrecked on Friday trying to get to the expo, all that. So Saturday, I did absolutely nothing because that'll help you get those fresh legs. So I guess take into account when you're going to the expo and, your plans for the days leading up.
Yeah, play it by ear, especially if you're coming from out of town. You've got jet lag and other things to consider. Focus on that recovery, that rest. All right, so along the 26.2 miles, runners may experience some discomfort or perhaps even pain. What are the best steps to avoid this, if possible, or if not, what should they do for their race?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, there's going to be discomfort. It's a marathon, right? That's part of the game. I think, do whatever you've done during your training runs and all of your long runs. You've probably experienced discomfort. Sometimes that's changing your pace. Maybe that's changing your foot strike if you have different patterns available to you. Listen to your body, most importantly, and it'll kind of tell you what to do. I think if you experience true pain, like it's really affecting your gait, if you have to stop, number one would be try to get to one of the med tents. I always say this because I think a lot of runners are afraid of this. We're not in the med tent to pull you off the course. We're there to help you get back on the course. It's not that often that we pull runners off the course. So you can go into the med tent. There's usually BioFreeze. There's, Vaseline if it's chafing. You can have salt if it's cramping. Usually there's a PT that can be in there to work with you for any stretching or cramping needs. So don't hesitate to use the med tents. That would be the biggest thing.
Yeah, I've used the medical tents before. They're great. They're our friends out there. They really want us to be on that course on race day. They want to help us finish. Yeah. So they're great.
You know, like we keep saying, take a breath. Like, don't freak out. There's a good chance at some point you're going to feel like rubbish, right? So you need to take that moment, try to have that moment of introspection. What is going on? What am I feeling? And what do I need to do with this discomfort that I'm feeling? Because it could be nutritional, right? It could be the electrolytes. It could be the glucose, right? The carbs.
Yeah, following that plan that you had for nutrition going into it, that's going to help you with this as well. This one I love. So after this race, you've just ran 26.2 miles. You've got to keep walking. So is it best to keep walking? What else should runners do at this point to aid that recovery?
Yeah, sure. Great question. Yeah, this is always a pet peeve of mine when you get to the finish line and there's a wall that's stopped in front of you, right? So, like, in all seriousness, technically it's a health concern to stop running after, not walk after you've run. Your cardiovascular system takes a huge hit, and there's a higher risk of having a cardiac event if you're not continuing to walk after running. So number one, for your own safety and health, keep walking. You're also going to be less likely to pass out at the end, right? Because you're keeping that blood going up from your feet back to your heart and to your head. And then it's not just walking at finish line, it's walking all throughout the day. Not meaning nonstop, but once you get home, wherever you're going, don't just lay down or sit down the rest of the day. Every so often, you've got to get up, take short walks, and that's going to help decrease the amount of stiffness, technically, you're going to have the next day.
Well, the good thing with that is when you finish the TCS New York City Marathon, you have to walk to get out of the park. So you're going to be continuing walking for a little bit before you can meet your friends and family. So that's going to help our runners. We're going to kind of enforce that you walk this section.
Yeah, it's a long walk to get out of there.
It's a long walk, and everyone else is looking at each other, feeling the exact same way as you. So just smile and walk. This one is quite good. So when can runners start to think about their next race? You haven't even run the 26.2 yet, but when can runners start thinking about that next race?
Just the half marathon the next week, right? That'll help warm them up now.
Another marathon? Like
yeah.
The next day?
So the way to think about it is you have that 3-week taper, right? Taper down to get ready for the marathon. So I always say whatever your taper was, you have to at least do that taper back up just to get back into kind of training cycle mode. I think it really depends on how long the race is. I mean, a 5K, I would think somebody could do that after that 3-week taper up. You're probably not doing it at the pace you want, but you could do it. I wouldn't jump right back into a half marathon after that 3-week. Taper up, and then you're going to have to train for that half marathon. It might not be the full, let's say, 12 to 13 weeks that we might train for it or less. But it also depends on what level. The first-time marathon runner, yeah, you're going to need longer before you go back to the race. For some individuals that are running at pro level, yeah, they're probably running a shorter distance race pretty quick after.
Yeah.
So we have a couple people tuning in saying where they're coming from. Ruthie and Caleb from Chicago, Patrick from Ireland, and
nice.
Ryan from Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Brooklyn, long travel there. No.
Huge travel to Brooklyn. I hope you've got your everything sorted out for that jet lag for race day.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And then our first question is, how long would you suggest I take off from running following a marathon?
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on how many marathons this runner's run. It's not that you actually need to take time off. I mean, honestly, a day or two to rest after the marathon, and you can go right back into shakeout runs and kind of go, your week 3 of taper, that leading up into that week of marathon, you can basically repeat that after the marathon. Sure, they're short runs. Maybe the longest on that weekend after is anywhere from 5 to 7 max if you feel like it. But I don't think you have to take time off. You just have to continue getting the proper rest and nutrition so your body can repair itself from running the marathon.
But if you want to take it off, you can also take it off.
Absolutely.
I know I love that week after the marathon and just, catching up on Netflix and everything else. So there's no right or wrong in this.
No. I mean, we were just talking about, so I ran Chicago Sunday, and then, of course, what happened on Wednesday? I got COVID, right? And so it was actually kind of nice because then for 5 days I was just laying around sleeping 8 to 12 hours a day, and my body had all the time to recover. But now it's at that place where I'm like, I need to get back on the roads again. So sometimes a forced rest, preferably not through COVID. It's not bad.
And Angelica is asking, during taper, should you taper the strength training as well?
Oh, that's a great question. At this point, theoretically, you're not doing heavy strength training. I mean, really, during this whole cycle of marathon training, you shouldn't be doing heavy strength training. So I wouldn't personally say you'd have to taper the strength. Just make sure you're not doing it at the level where you're exceptionally sore. It shouldn't be affecting how you walk or run. If you want to taper off of it, that's fine. What I wouldn't get rid of is any activations that anybody does, right? Anything that they're doing to activate their glutes or their hamstrings or whatever their trouble areas are. Definitely please keep those going.
And Lewis is saying, I missed a long run due to hip pain, but I feel better now. Can I do a long run for my confidence?
No. No, I would not recommend doing a long run at this point. I would trust your training. I think another important takeaway from all of this is no one's training is going to be 100% perfect. You're going to have missed long runs. Just this is the point where you need to focus on that rest, that hydration, that nutrition. It's not a moment to think, I feel great, I'm going to go out and run 20 miles. Please don't do that.
Yeah, no, I'll second that. Do not do it. It's not worth it. This is when you could so easily injure yourself and you'd be out from the race. And for some people during their training cycle, they go on vacation, they go places where they miss a whole week of training and they're fine. So it's okay. You won't not be able to finish the marathon because of that one long run you missed.
And the next question is from Patrick saying, should I start some extra stretching between now and the run or should I keep as is?
Yeah, I mean, that's harder to answer because it's so broad in terms of extra. I look at the taper period as just keep doing whatever you've been doing. I would say if a runner feels like maybe they have some new areas of tightness that's affecting them, then sure, you could add on. But, I really live by the rule of nothing new right leading up to the marathon. So stick with whatever's been working for you. Sometimes we want to add extra things because we start freaking out. So instead of running more miles and, adding an extra long run, we start adding in more stretching or more strength training or get crazy with our nutrition. That's all our ways of dealing with that anxiety of race day coming up.
Do you think to help with this, would you recommend massage or is there anything else you could recommend?
No, massage is always great. I mean, there again, preferably with somebody that you've used in the past and if you go in and get a deep sports massage this close to, you could release a lot of soreness. You could be bruised up and that could affect the race. So something lighter, for anybody that goes to any of those places where they stretch you, same thing. Don't let them go crazy. Make sure they know what your goal is and what you're about to do in 11 days, and they should treat you accordingly. But any of the nice to the body it's great.
I love it. It's nice.
And the next question is from Ben saying, what should I eat the night before the race? Should I look at carb loading just the day before?
I think this is a great question. I think what you eat the night before the race should be something that you've eaten before. If it's boring and it's worked for you in the past, I would recommend, having that the night before the marathon. I wouldn't recommend trying anything new, anything crazy. The same with carb loading, adding a few more carbs to your diet the day before, that week of. Nothing insane. That doesn't mean you're eating huge bowls of pasta for every meal. It's a small amount extra per day. But yeah, do what has worked for you and your training. Everyone's training is going to be so different, and what I eat the night before is going to be different to what Brent eats the night before.
And I think don't think about just carb loading the day before. It's really the 48 hours leading up to the race. So it's really those last 2 days, so that Friday and Saturday. And I think it's hardest for our individuals that are coming from other cities and other countries, right? Because you're out of your home environment. So how do you recreate what you've been doing at home here? So that can get very tricky.
Yeah, I've seen people at expos and, carrying their New York bagel or carrying food. I've seen spaghetti in a bag, which doesn't look great, but if it works for you, I would take that with you. My friend, he actually went to one in Europe and he froze because you couldn't take liquids in, so he froze his food and took it with him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing I've seen recently, I don't know if you've seen this. So did you see the video with Kipchoge talking about how he eats oatmeal before every run for breakfast, and they mash it up with somebody, a nutritionist, maybe somebody that's like spooning the oatmeal and says, this is rubbish, nobody should eat this for breakfast. And it's such an amazing mashup, an illumination of that. Whatever works for you, stick with it. It doesn't matter what everybody else does or what works for us or what we recommend. Just stick with what you've been doing. It's worked for you thus far.
If it's boring, it's perfect.
And Caleb is asking, what should I do if I still haven't figured out the right nutrition for race day / during the race?
That's tough because I would kind of want to know what you mean by not right. So if it means that you're feeling like you don't have the energy to get through the race, maybe I wouldn't really want you to try anything new per se, like new running gels or carb replacement or anything like that. I think the first thing to maybe think about is, are you taking it often enough? I know we all take it at different timing intervals. So that would be the first thing to look at, is don't change what you're taking, but maybe how often you're taking it. And then maybe the other thing to think about would be, are you getting enough electrolytes in? Because if we run this year like last year, I hope not. If it's as warm as it was last year, you really have to stay on top of the electrolytes and sodium, not just water.
And that's not just the day of, that's in the days leading up to the
right.
race.
Oh, yeah, great point. Exactly. You want to get those electrolytes in the days before. Almost like carb loading. I definitely electrolyte load, sodium load when I carb load, for sure.
Then the next question is, assuming the temperatures are going to be around 50 to 60 degrees, how often would you suggest using salt tablets during the race?
Look at that lead in. Perfect.
Perfect question. I love it. Again, reading the packet, so if they're saying every 20 minutes on the pack, that's the most important. All brands have different time allocation, so I would say read the pack and do what's worked for you in the past. You know your body, you know how you run, so I wouldn't, again, listen to what the person next to you is doing. I would do what has worked for you and take them, kind of like have a plan for where to take them, when to take them.
Yeah, and everybody here, at least if you've lived here in New York City, you've trained through the summer, so you technically know what to do for hot weather. You also have to know yourself. So, talking about what does the packet say? For somebody such as myself, I'm a heavy sweater, especially in heat. So I'm probably taking those salt tabs more regularly based on just how I'm feeling. So it's being aware of your body, and it's being okay to go against the rules or whatever the package says based on what your body needs. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't mean if they taste really good, you eat all of them, though. It's like...
No.
And next question, Jessica is asking, anything special to do to strengthen your immune system so you don't get sick before race day?
That's a great question. I'm going to put my 2 cents in and I'll pass it to you. I think you'll see a lot of people now wearing a mask, which is one thing that can help you. That's what I would say. I've seen a lot of people doing that. I did a marathon a few weeks ago, and I feel like every single person that was running that marathon that weekend was wearing a mask.
Yeah, I would say number one most important thing is sleep. You've got to sleep. The second thing I would add in is proper nutrition. And then we can take it one step further. So, your immune system is wrecked after running a marathon. So obviously we're all worried about catching COVID before the marathon. That could take you out, but case in point, easy to catch it afterwards. So the importance of wearing that mask even afterwards, because you're so susceptible to all kinds of things after.
Looking after yourself is important, especially in the lead up. You've got, less than 11 days. So just being really kind to yourself, extra sleep, extra hydration, and just being nice to yourself. You've trained so hard. Let's enjoy this race.
And next question is from Dennis, saying, I ran Berlin a couple of weeks ago. I did not run more than 13 miles after. I decided to just rest after I experienced some discomfort on my left calf. Was that the right decision?
I imagine, I don't want to speak for you, Gemma, but I imagine what we're both going to say is obviously never run through discomfort, right? You have to listen to your body. What was Berlin? Berlin was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Yeah. So, the nice thing is it's not like you've lost all your fitness that we gained leading up to Berlin. I would definitely say get some short shakeout runs in just to keep the body moving. But, he built up that fitness level. So I think it's, to be determined on race day, obviously. But I think that fitness level is there.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend having any crazy goals on race day, taking it easy. You did train for Berlin, but there has been quite a significant time since then. So, yeah, a few shakeout runs. Please don't go and get one more long run in at this stage.
Yeah.
And then last question is from Valerie, asking, is it okay to take Tylenol or Advil before the race to be proactive with upcoming pain?
I mean, I never say to do that. My worry is always anytime you take any type of painkiller before you do a physical activity, you could be blunting your body's signals saying danger, danger, you're causing damage, pain. Do not take Advil. Tylenol is available on the course. I hope I'm not misspeaking. Never Advil. So definitely no to the Advil. If you do take Tylenol before the race and then you need to pull over at a med tent at any point during the race, make sure they know you took Tylenol because you might not be eligible to receive more Tylenol. But proactively or prophylactically, no, don't do it. It's not worth it. Like why add more stuff in your system that you don't technically need?
All right. Well, thank you, Brent. Thank you for joining us today for this coaches chat. It's been great chatting to you. It's been great chatting to everyone online. I just want to say have a great day next weekend. The weather's looking great. Let's keep it that way. I'm not in control of it, but if I was, we'll keep it how it is. If you are coming to the expo, come say hi. I'll be there at the PACE team. And yeah, at the end of the marathon, if you can go see the Hospital for Special Surgery, there's a recovery tent at the pavilion on the Monday. So
yeah, we'll be there on the Monday as well. Yeah.
So come say hi to us there. But have a great day and enjoy.
Yeah, have a great run.